All right, good morning and happy Friday. I cannot believe it's already the end of the week. All right, so today we're covering chapters 5 and 6 of Unit 11, the Civil War. Let's start our day with some quick reminders. Make sure to double check, triple check, quadruple check your Edulastic account and make sure you don't have any active assessments left on Edulastic. I would like you to also look at iReady Math and Reading. Make sure you're completing at least 10 minutes a day. Don't forget to complete your math and ELA assignments and videos. And don't forget, scholars, we are monitoring Go Guardian throughout the week, so please make sure you're using your Chromebook as you would at school. Here is our agenda for the day. I'm going to state the objective, go with our big question. I'm going to read chapter 5 to you. You're going to read chapter 6. I'm going to go over the independent work for the day and also, again, giving you some more daily reminders and goodbyes before we leave for this awesome weekend. So today we're going to learn about the nation growing apart and an increasing political division about the issue of slavery. So your objectives are, I can explain how the growth of manufacturing in the North and the plantation system in the South increased the economic and social differences between the two regions. And I also can understand the Compromise of 1850. So our big question for chapter 5. What were the economic differences between the North and the South? So today in this chapter, we're really going to go into the differences of the economy of the North and the economy of the South and who prospered and who seemed to struggle more. So make sure to pay attention to what the differences were and why those differences existed. Chapter 5, Growing Apart. Differences between North and South. The North and South continued to disagree over the issue of slavery. Despite this disagreement, it's important to understand that Americans were still one people. They shared a common language and, for many, a common faith. They honored their shared history, especially the Revolutionary achievement. But other social changes were beginning to lead to many people to believe that the North and the South were growing further apart. More people in the North now lived in towns and cities. Most Southerners still farmed for a living. In the North, manufacturing was growing increasingly important. Manufacturing is the production of items in large numbers for sales or trade. And at this time in the Great Britain, major changes were taking place in cloth making. Several men invented machines that spun cotton into thread 200 times faster than a person using a spinning wheel. Soon after, others invented a machine that could weave the thread into hundreds of yards of cloth in a single day. Before long, British manufacturers constructed buildings called factories or mills to house these new machines. Power to run these machines came from swiftly flowing streams that turned the water wheels attached to the new machines. With these machines, British manufacturers produced cloth faster, cheaper, and better than anyone else. The British government was determined to keep this advantage. The government would not let anyone sell the new machines to other countries or make plans to take them out of the country. The government even passed a law that said that people who worked in cotton mills were not allowed to leave Great Britain. Keeping such a large secret, though, is nearly impossible. Sooner or later, the secret gets out. In this case, it was sooner. Several American manufacturers placed an advertisement in a British newspaper offering a reward to anyone who could build a spinning machine for them. Sam Slater, a young employee in a British spinning mill, saw the ad. After memorizing every part of the machine, the 21-year-old Slater disguised himself as a farm boy and boarded a ship headed for the United States in 1789. It took Slater 2 years to make every wooden part of the machine by hand. In 1791, he finished the job. The machine worked. That year, America's first cotton thread mill opened in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Some years after, a wealthy Boston merchant named Francis Lowell and several wealthy friends built a large factory in which machines not only spun the cotton thread, but also dyed it and wove it into cloth. Soon dozens then hundreds of other factories sprang up. Most of these early factories were located in New England. The rushing water of New England's many rivers and streams were used to power the machines. Later, factories spread into other parts of the Northeast. The factories made more than just cloth. They also made shoes, pots and pans, household goods, and farm machinery. The goods traveled from the factories by canals and railroads to hundreds of thousands of family farms in the North and the West. Farmers paid for the goods by shipping their wheat, corn, barley, and other crops to markets in the East on those same canals and railroads. From there, many of those crops were sent by ship to other countries. All this new manufacturing and trade led to the rapid growth of cities in the North. At the time of the American Revolution, there were only 5 cities in the whole country. The largest city, Philadelphia, had fewer than 40,000 residents. New York was the second largest, with fewer than 20,000. By 1850, however, nearly 100 places in the United States could call themselves cities. Nearly all of them were in the North, and in the region we now call the Midwest. New York alone had 500,000 people. Philadelphia in Pennsylvania was not far behind. Pittsburgh, also in Pennsylvania, Chicago in Illinois, and Cincinnati in Ohio were also growing rapidly. In these cities, people could find jobs. The rural South. The South, meanwhile, grew in a different direction. There were many factories in the South, but not many. The same was true for railroads. The number of large southern cities could be counted on one hand. The great majority of the Southerners made their living from land. While the North was gradually becoming more urban, the South remained rural. Remember, urban means a city, and rural is relating to the countryside. Southerners believed their future lay with cotton. They were sure that the increasing demand for cotton from factories in the North and in Great Britain would make the South wealthy and strong. A Northerner with money might start a new business or build a factory, but a Southerner would buy more land to grow cotton. He would also buy more slaves to work that land. A few of these big cotton farmers or planters owned a very large farm. These farms, or plantations, were much larger than the family farms of the North and the West. The plantation owners were the leaders of the South. They lived in large mansions, had many household servants, and entertained friends and relatives in a manner of wealthy people. Each planter owned 50 or more slaves. Of course, the great planter's grand lifestyle was built on the labor of African American slaves. So it is not surprising that at the very time, more Northerners opposed slavery. The leading families of the South were determined to keep it. Not all farmers lived on large plantations, though. The majority of the Southern farmers owned small farms, and some struggled to grow enough food. Though they generally supported slavery, and some owned 1 or 2 slaves, they did not live rich, comfortable lives. By 1840s, most Northerners opposed the spread of slavery into territories. Most Southerners demanded that slavery be allowed to spread. The stage was set for trouble should the United States ever gain more territory in the West. But that's just what happened as a result of the war with Mexico. The argument that followed over the spread of slavery into that new territory almost broke up the Union. So now you're going to read about chapter 6, which is about the House divided, and you're going to read and listen for the big question, why did the compromises fail to solve the national argument about slavery? So here they're trying to come up with some more resolutions about slavery and how to resolve this issue before it starts to grow and get out of hand, which we know it won't be solved. So go ahead and read this chapter and answer that big question at the end on your own to see if you really understood what this chapter was about. All right, when you're done, your independent work today is domain vocabulary, and it's filling in the blanks. So you're going to see a series of sentences with blank spots in their sentences. The first one says, famous blank, William Lloyd Garrison published a newspaper that spoke out against the institution of blank. So you're just going to look in the word box and try to find the words that fit in those blanks. When you're done, on the other side, there's going to be a map, and on the bottom of the map, I want you to write a description explaining what the Compromise of 1850 was and seeing if you still remember about that. Here are some reminders before we go today. Remember to complete any active assessments on Edulastic. Double check, triple check, quadruple check, check so many times. Just make sure you're not missing anything. Also look at iReady, Math, and Reading. Complete math and ELA assignments, watch their videos, and also remember we're monitoring Go Guardian this week, so make sure that you're using your Chromebook as you would at school. And don't forget to submit your assignments. We are keeping track of assignments and whether or not things are getting turned in. So please make sure that you're turning those in. All right, scholars, have a great day. Have an awesome weekend, and I will see you on Monday.